here's one of the things, one of the many things that I've learned from this next presenter. And it's taken me however many years to get it. You know, when we get it, we get it. And we start to have to let go of, oh my God, why didn't I get that years ago? But you get it when you get it. So here's what I finally have just beginning to get the edges and the glimmers of, is that my outside world, my physical reality, is an absolute reflection of my inside being. My outside world is a reflection of my inside. Always. And lots of you are nodding heads. But boy, we forget this. So I'm letting you know that that's one of the key messages from this beautiful, beautiful soul and dear, dear friend of mine that is, has changed my life. And I can tell you that I've done many of her workshops and leadership trainings and spiritual trainings in beautiful parts of our world. Hawaii, she takes people to beautiful places. She's a spiritual leader, workshop leader, coach, master coach, and has just recently launched a beautiful, beautiful website that you can now be a part of and enter into their world, which is called Lucid Living. Lucid living, what beautiful language, to live a life that's lucid. And so it is a great honor and a pleasure and a thrill to introduce to you this morning our featured keynote of the day, my dear, dear friend and colleague, and absolute spiritual guide, Leza. No, I think we'll be good. We'll be good.
Afraid to hug and we make that sound. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Rick, first of all. Thank you for putting all of this together and giving me the honor to kick off these 3 days of what I know will be inspiring, exciting conversations. I feel thrilled, honored, and privileged to have this opportunity just to slow down and, although getting me to slow down, that's a trick, but to really drop into a place and share heart to heart. That's my goal for this morning, is to just share my heart with each of you. And I do have some very specific, exciting things I'd like to talk about. And it thrills me to know that I get this opportunity to begin these 3 days with a conversation about magic. Magic is my passion. I am all about magic, and I love it. And we're going to get to what do I mean by magic in a little bit. But the world's needing some magic right about now, isn't it? You look out there, and as Rick so beautifully said, it is a reflection of our consciousness. And it's difficult sometimes to see what's happening in the world and to say, okay, how is that a reflection of my consciousness? I don't understand this violence. I don't understand this pain and suffering. How is it a reflection of me? And there is so much complexity. And often it requires us to remove the veil of shame that says, what's wrong with me that my world looks like this? And instead to look a little deeper and begin to go on the emotional journey of taking ownership for the world and then realizing, oh my God, if it's mine, I can change it. How exciting is that? And so this morning we're going to talk about what I call re-enchanting the world, how each and every one of us can become a vessel of this transformative energy of enchantment. We're going to talk about what I mean by enchantment too. And I know there are times when we don't want to do the hard work. We just want a magic wand, and can't we just, how many want a magic wand and just want the world to be made in the way that you would like it to be, right? But we'd miss the journey. We'd miss the journey of discovering how this world is reflecting who you are and how you can go on this journey from separation to oneness. And so it's an ally. Where's the ally sign? Everything in the world, as bleak as it sometimes looks, is an ally to help you breadcrumbs on your path home. So begin to think of it and see it in that way. So I do want to just come out and proclaim in front of all of you that my name is Leza Danley and I am a magician. And of course, I did not always think of myself that way. I grew up in suburban Illinois, and there I am on my jungle gym in the backyard. And as a child, I had a sense of magic that a lot of people have, a kind of sense of magic of something really exciting in the unseen world, a sense of connection to everything. And I also was one of 8 kids. I grew up in a very musical family. We sang close harmony together and played instruments and made up songs and plays. And our creative play was very enchanting to me. I had an easy rapport with this thing called enchantment. And I'll explain more about enchantment in a bit, but for now, beginning definition. It's the sense of divine connection and oneness with everything. Not just the intellectual concept of it, but the feeling of it. The feeling that when you walk outside, the trees are happy to see you. You know, that feeling of connection. That's enchantment. That's a piece of enchantment. Enchantment is many beautiful, complex things. So I had that sense as a child. Through the music and the arts and the things that we did, we made Easter bonnets out of paper plates with crepe paper flowers on them, and we danced. Of course, we were Beatlemaniacs. This was the 60s, and you know, Rick, I was thinking, you had your moment about your pants. Look at me with my Madras dress and the little cut-off shorts. I was a little ahead of setting some trends, a little ahead of the game there too. And so we had, you know, a lot of enchantment for me came through the arts. I felt a sense of connection and all of that. And, you know, this sense of enchantment stayed amazingly intact throughout what was, for me, a very abusive childhood. And it was a painful childhood for me, a scary childhood. My mother, bless her heart, with 8 kids, completely overwhelmed and not knowing really how to cope with that, would hold it in, go on a rampage, become a crazy person, and really punish and abuse us in really difficult ways. And as you can imagine, my journey has been a lot about healing that and healing the shame that came of that, because a lot of shame came from that. But, and I chose it, and I know I did, and that's a beautiful thing when you can understand the healing that you chose, the circumstances that you chose, that you allowed to happen in your life in order to set you in motion on your destiny, your journey. And so I don't blame my mother. I'm not standing here to blame my mother. I'm here to bless her, but to say that I was terrified as a child when she was around. But when she wasn't, I could just be singing and having fun and back in my world amazingly. But you know, the world does have a way of crushing the innocence out of all of us at one point. The world starts to push that out. Do you remember that for yourself? Can you get in touch with a magical child in you who had a sense that life was magical and wondrous, and then when you started being trained out of that? I remember when it happened for me. I was 11 years old. I was in 6th grade, and yes, in 6th grade, I still believed in Santa Claus. I was really very innocent for a long time. And what my parents would do, you know, had a little scheme to get the kids out of the house so they could put the presents under the tree without suspicion. Dad would take the littlest ones off to pick up my grandma, who lived a couple blocks away, and then when we came back before dinner on Christmas Eve, we'd miss Santa. How did that happen every time there? You know, it never caught on, you know. It was like, go with Dad. So here it was, 6th grade, 11 years old, and Mom commands my dad to go take Laura, the youngest, to go get Grandma. I was just thinking, I'm not going to miss Santa. I'm so excited. I'm not going to miss Santa. Dad and Laura get out the door, and the minute they're gone, Mom and my sisters and brothers spring into action, run upstairs, unlock a closet, and start shuttling presents downstairs, putting them under the tree. I'm just frozen. I was shocked. Where's Santa? What's happening? I mean, it was the flood of emotions that came over me, the sense of foolishness and betrayal and hurt and, all of this. It was like, when something happens emotionally, you can't compute it, and it's like a dense fog just comes over you and you just feel separated from yourself. And I was just standing there, just kind of frozen, watching the color just drain out of Christmas. And the lights were not magical on the tree, and the presents were fraudulent, and everything was just sort of, it was as if my world turned upside down. And my mom looked over at me and said, "What's going on?" And I told her about my surprise. And she said, "Oh, you're too old for that." And then to make matters worse, just a couple minutes later, my little sister comes back with my dad. "Santa's been here, what happened?" And now I have to join the conspiracy of the grown-ups. And I was like, no. So it was just, I remember at that time, so much of my sense of the world and of myself slipped away, and I was lost for a really long time. So why am I telling you this story? I'm telling you for a couple of very specific reasons. The first is that on that night, when my sense of magic was wounded, it actually sowed the seeds of my bigger game. Because for me, it began a search for a magic I could trust. I want to know the real magic. Where's the magic? I know there is magic. What is it? And if you think about it for yourself, and you look at some of the most significant woundings of your life, how are they seeds for the bigger game you're playing? Because there always is a seed. And for me, it started a search for magic. Well, the other reason I'm telling you is that because my story really mirrors the world story of lost enchantment. There was a time when the world knew enchantment, and there was a time when that enchantment became wounded. And what happened in the world is very similar to what happened to me. What I did, I shut down my emotions, and I formed a set of beliefs that became an operating system for me for quite a while. I can't trust the people who profess to love me. I've been stupid and foolish to trust them. I'm an embarrassment for being so gullible. No one cares about me or what I feel. And finally, I'm all alone. Now the thing is, this wasn't true. But they were the beliefs that I formed. Why? Because I didn't stay with my emotional truth. I would rather form a prison of untrue beliefs to separate myself than feel foolish and hurt and scared. And see, that's what happens. That's what we do. When emotions become overwhelming and we don't think we can process them, we separate from ourselves, and we separate from the possibility of experiencing enchantment and connection and divine love that is everywhere. And the thing is, we all know separation, right? We all do. We go in and out of it all the time. I was on my way here and just having it, excited and on the plane, and then I had one of those people in front of me whose seat went all the way back. I wasn't feeling overwhelmed with divine love as he was right in my lap. That was not what I was feeling in that moment. Like, okay, I'm feeling separate, I know, and I have to do a little work to get myself back into that place. But I mean, it can happen in a moment, right? I'm feeling everything's going on, and then I'm in a moment. I'm separate. And in that separation, so, I mean, here's a little silly example, just so you can experience it for yourself in this moment. So think about something that you really want, something that deeply matters to you, okay? Now, what if I told you that whether you get that or not depends on a quiz that I'm going to give you in 5 minutes. And it's very, very difficult. And only 50% of the people in the room are going to pass. What starts happening? You're laughing, but what's happening, really? Now, you even know it's a made-up example, but can you feel any little bit of threat? You start looking around, who am I better or worse than 50% of these people? You know? And when you look, if you look, these are the strategies. Some of them, there's many, but we have our favorites, right? Some of us go to blame. Some of us go to performance. I'm going to be the best. I know I can be in the upper 50%. Some say, oh, forget it. I know I can't do that. I'm just going to, you know, or just attack me because I'm the one bringing the quiz. But that's what we do. That's what we do. We reach for, and I talk a lot of times about this old paradigm of thought that's changing. I call it the separation paradigm. Sometimes I call it the domination paradigm. Separation is the experience of where I feel separate. Domination is the response. So I got to control, I got to dominate, I got to make things work my way because I can't trust. I lose touch with the fact that my consciousness is magical. If I desire and imagine and expect it, I just can create it. I forget. And so I start reaching for some of these things. And who likes to struggle to prove your value? Anybody? That's a big strategy. So you know you have your favorite strategy. So we know what it's like on a personal level, right? We know what it's like to reach for that and to feel cut off and yet somehow feel like you don't know how to find your way back, you know, to that beautiful state of oneness. And that's on a personal level. And on a global level, the world is gripped in this paradigm. For most people, this is real. Now, for many of you, you probably don't live here a lot of the time, but you know you go here. You know this is a default response when your back is up against the wall. But for some people, that's just the way of the world. For most of the world. And anything else is woo-woo, right? So we are at a point where the world at large is crumbling under this old operating system. And the reflections of it are everywhere. So what are we going to do? What do you do when these terrible things happen in the world? More control? More domination? It doesn't work. Whatever you try to control ultimately enslaves you. So what are you going to do, right? So I know you know I would not just put all this problem out here without having some very good news. There is so much good news, as a matter of fact, that, you know, where to start. But I will start with something that's so exciting to me, which is we are living at the most exciting time in the history of human consciousness. Right now. And if you could even perceive how many souls wanted to get in right now for what we're going through. You made it. You got the golden ticket, baby. I'm not kidding. Being here now for this has never been seen, ever, any time, on any plane of consciousness for humanity. So what we are all about right now is so thrilling. And all of you who are here, you are pioneers. You've come from all over the world because you want to be inspired, because you want to change the world. You are the magic. You are the vessels who are bringing enchantment back. The world is ready to return to a state of loving connection and enchantment. It's time now. And in fact, that paradigm, the domination paradigm that's so visible in the world, believe it or not, it's already over. It's done. In what I call the more real. On unseen levels, it's already over. It's just taking a little while to make its way into manifestation. And so what's happening is it's all coming to the surface on its way out. And it takes hope when that's going on, to have a sense of hope, to really understand the way separation is being revealed so it can be healed and forgiven. To not lose faith when things look bleak. when they do. So this is where we are. And we are those incredible few that get to participate in the re-enchanting of the world. Yeah, that's right, that's good. So how are you going to do it? How is it going to happen? I want to share a little, it's kind of a two-part equation here. Oh, thank you. Forgot about that. I told you I'd tell you what magic is. So magic, complex, very complex, but it begins with this idea, that magic is creating reality in alignment with your will, okay? Directing your will, your desire, your imagination. Guess what? We all do it every day, right? You're all working magic all the time. So what's the difference between magic and being a magician? The only difference is that when you're a magician, you do it consciously, you do it intentionally, and you know you're doing it. So there's all kinds of magic. Prayer is a form of magic. When you intend health for a loved one who's in the hospital, that's a form of magic. You're directing your will towards what you want, right? Conscious creation magic, which is a magic Janine and I have been teaching at Lucid Living for the last 13 years. It's all about shaping your world with your thoughts and your attitudes and your beliefs and your emotions, with your imagination, and working with what we call the tools and raw materials of reality creation, changing the inner world so that the outer world changes around you. That's conscious reality creation. But today I want to talk about an even more advanced level of magic, which is called resonance magic. So resonance magic is really powerful. It's creating a field of energy. And that field of energy becomes an attractor for what you want to create. And that is how the energy of enchantment is going to change the world. So it's as we place these various frequencies of energy together, and they create a synergy that is more than the sum of the parts. And that energy of enchantment sweeps everything into it. You ever, you know that experience when there's you can feel it here. Last night, so beautiful, when Alice was here and Rick and Alice were meeting for the first moment. There was an energy that was palpable in the room. There was a resonance here, an enchanted moment. And we could all sense it. And we were drawn into it. And we teared up, and it was beautiful. That's a resonance. Fear and hatred and blame, that's a resonance. That creates a resonance too. And the world is gripped in this resonance of separation. So the return of enchantment, here's the two-part that I was talking about. It's about first learning to lift your consciousness into that altered state of oneness, connection and belonging to a friendly universe, and then allowing yourself to be changed by love. Now that second part's a little harder. Anybody resist change just a little bit? It sounds so good. Just be lifted by love and let yourself be changed. Yeah, exactly, yes, yes. And there is the caveat, which is, okay, it absolutely will change you, but you must go on the emotional journey. You must go on the emotional journey, because what happens is this fascinating thing called resonance shakedown. Ooh, that sounds scary. What's resonance shakedown? Resonance shakedown is when so much good stuff starts coming in, or when you start feeling so much joy and love and happiness, that your consciousness says, oh, I see. We want to live at a higher level here. We got to get some of this hurt out that you've been holding on for 20 years. We better bring up that shame so you can see it. And what happens is that stuff starts coming up, and we go, oh no, and I was feeling so good. You know, I had such a good weekend, and now Monday. Why is this happening? Rather than seeing it, we have never been taught to perceive that as a healing process. We haven't been taught that when that stuff comes up, it's there for us to love and feel and embrace and accept and let go. And instead we think, ooh, shame response. Let me just hide it. Who, me, what? No, blame. I don't, no, not me. I'm not jealous. And we just push it right down. And what happens? Back to that other, right? That's a form of denial, which, guess what? Moves you into separation, and your resonance drops. So sustaining enchantment, feeding it with positive energy, and then being willing to, okay, strap into the roller coaster and go on the emotional ride of letting it change you. That's what enchantment magic is all about. So that's what we're going to be working with this morning. You game? Anybody game to go on the strap in for the emotional journey? So I want to talk about enchantment for a moment. Enchantment, as I said, it's this transcendent energy. And you enter through this doorway that everything in the natural world is alive, conscious, and wondrous. How many of you believe that? Everything in the natural world is alive. It has consciousness. It's filled with wonder. It is divine. And you are part of it. I am you, right? You are part of it, and it is part of you. So that's the doorway in. And have you ever noticed that pretty much everything in the natural world is always trying to draw you into that connection? And a lot of times it's very quiet about it. But sometimes it gets kind of rowdy and it says, look at me, we're one, don't forget. I'm here, right? You've seen an incredible sunset that not just, oh, that's pretty, and you keep driving, but like, I have to pull over, right? And I just have to commune with it, right? Night sky sometimes just can take you there, right? I witnessed Aurora Borealis when I was 18 years old in northern Wisconsin with friends one summer. We were up all night just watching. It was like God was throwing paint cans across the sky. You couldn't go to sleep. You couldn't go inside. It was hours and hours. It was too enchanting. It was thrilling. An incredibly beautiful thing to witness. Have you ever seen dolphins that jumping like that? Don't they look so happy? And you can't not feel joy when you see that. And they're saying, come on, remember, we're one. And it's not just plants and animals and humans. I mean, it's humans too. The stories of heroism, you know, you see those first responders who rush in and give of themselves to care for others, and you weep with just gratitude, you know. That can draw you into enchantment. So many things can draw you into enchantment. So I want to give a little experience of something called an enchanted moment, okay? An enchanted moment is a moment like that. It's not just a regular, oh, that's beautiful, or I appreciate that. It's vivid with sensation. It's when you feel swept away, when your soul is all but overwhelmed with a sense of gratitude and love and oneness, and you just get completely caught up in it. Have you had a moment like that? You've had those experiences? I have one in particular that I'm going to share with you. When I was 21 years old, I was singing in Disneyland for the bicentennial summer, 1976. And we did 10 shows a day, 35-minute show every hour on the hour, plus 2 parades. Freedom ain't a state like, no, not going there. Anyway, we were a lot of times just hot, sweaty, in 90-degree weather and wearing wool and polyester. But there were some times when it was just so magical. And I remember one in particular. I had this particular solo. And I remember I came out and I was singing. And I wasn't just singing to this audience. I actually had this altered state moment where I could feel that my joy was touching people being loaded into the ride at the Matterhorn and getting ice cream on Main Street and standing in line at Space Mountain. And it was just, my joy was making a difference, and I knew it. I just felt it. And I had this experience of feeling connected to and part of everyone there. And it was a thrilling experience. I'm looking at Janine here, and of course, her enchanted moments, so many of them come in her cathedral, which is being active out in nature and in the mountains. And here she is on top of Sentinel Dome. You could just tell how, can you just tell her communion, even from the back of her? Just her rapport with nature and what that place is for her. That's where her enchantment is. So I want you to think about your enchantment. Think about your enchanted moments. And I want to just do a little exercise. So if just for a moment, you'll just close your eyes right where you are. And bring to mind an enchanted moment. A moment when you felt one with everyone and everything. You knew you were in the right place at the right time. You felt blessed, grateful, joyful. And let that come alive in your senses. What were you seeing? What were you hearing? What was the taste and the smell and the feel of this moment? And to the best of your ability, let yourself be carried right back into all the feelings of that moment. And then when you're ready, just open your eyes. And I want you to, in a moment, find someone next to you, and you're just going to have a couple minutes each way. What I want you to do now is be the transmitter of that enchantment. So don't just tell them what happened. Bring them into the feeling of it, the taste of it, the experience of it. Share that moment of enchantment so that they get a taste of your enchantment and you get a taste of theirs, okay? So just have a couple minutes and I'll tell you when to switch. So how was that? Sharing, it's short, I know you could talk and talk, right? Sharing a taste, and was it fun to hear from someone else's enchanted moments? They lift us. So here's the thing. I talked about resonance, right? There's this resonance of enchantment. And can you feel it in the room right now, this feeling of, what are some of the energies? Well, let me back up and just say, first of all, a resonance is lots of different frequencies of energies coming together to create a standing wave of energy, a field that is more powerful than any single frequency. Okay? Now we know that everything has energy. Everything's made up of energy, and everything has a frequency. And we can measure light in terms of color, a spectrum of color, and we can measure sound. And they're starting to understand how to measure emotional frequency. But intuitively, we already know. You know, when we say, oh, I'm high as a kite, or I'm, low or blue or whatever, we know that love feels like a higher vibration than blame, right? I mean, it just does. So you know that there's higher and lower frequencies. And so there are certain frequencies that come together and are layered in such a way that this thing called enchantment sweeps us away. So if you tune into it, what are some of the emotional energies that are part of that? Yeah. Wonder, yes. What else? I'm sorry? Gratitude, beautiful. Awe. Ecstasy. Acceptance. Passion, oneness. Clarity, love. Excitement, what? Joy, thankfulness. Peace. Stability? Oh, possibility. Yes, possibility, absolutely. Surrender. There are all these frequencies, and these are some of them, not all of them. But some of these frequencies that come together, mystery. Can you sense, in your enchanted moment, there's a sense of mystery there? And there's hope, absolutely. You feel lifted and hopeful. Hope is a genuine, positive expectation of the future, and you feel that in those moments. Wonder and creativity and beauty and compassion, understanding. There's innocence, beautiful innocence and joy, and there's forgiveness and a deep sense of belonging, just to name a few. So these energies come together and create this field. And the question is, will you let it change you? Will you let it change you? Will you let it be real enough? Because see, the things that we feed our attention are the things we make real. Do you place your attention on that? Or do you place your attention, do you get up and watch the news and place your attention on despair and worry and struggle and pain? It's important to feel that pain. It's important to recognize it, to have compassion for it. But what are you feeding? Where are you placing your attention? And by feeding enchantment, you initiate that resonance shakedown, right? And as I said, what stops the process of change is when you refuse to go on the emotional journey, because enchantment magic is an emotional journey. And we live in a world that tells us to deny emotion. That emotion is wrong. I mean, how many times? I am at the point where if I see one more person apologize for crying, I'm over it. Stop doing that. You know, Janine and I love to cry. Janine is my business partner at Lucid Living, and we love to cry. It's one of the most wonderful things. It's a God-given thing. It's just fantastic. And, oh God, I want to tell that story, but I don't know. Anyway, I've got to tell it because I teased it now. Janine assisted a leadership program, and you know, the thing is that when you are in touch with your soul, the natural state is to weep at the smallest act of human kindness or the smallest slight or pain, because you feel empathy so deeply, right? And so Janine sat in that leadership program assisting, and she wept through the whole thing because of how beautiful people were, because that's Janine. She just wept through the whole thing because people were so beautiful. And at the last day when the people were saying goodbye, a participant came up and hugged her and said, "I hope you get the help you need." Clearly didn't have the context of the emotional journey. So really, here is where we are. It's the central conflict of life in 2013. Because with one hand, we're reaching, oops, that's in the screen, right? We're reaching for enchantment. We want it. We can see it. We have a sense that it's out there. There is this new world that's coming into being, and we want it. But with the other hand, we're still clinging to separation. We don't really trust that if I let go of control, if I stop struggling, if I just follow my passion and my bliss, is it really going to work out for me? I want it, but can't I just bring my guarantee, my safety blanket with me? And we're torn. It's like one foot on the dock and one on the boat, and the boat is going, you know? It's like, oh, got to make a choice. It's time for the choice, you know? And so that's where we are. We're at that place where we're each having to make a choice about faith, about love, about believing in the goodness of human nature, the goodness, truth, and beauty of humans, and knowing that we are going there. And not only are we going there, but if we are courageous enough, we can be those pioneers bringing that energy of love. We can be the vessels with our consciousness shaping that new world and turning around to give that helping hand to others who don't quite trust it. Because that's part of what you're here for too. Make the map, be the pioneer, and then help others learn how to see that world that you now live in, that enchanted world. So, go ahead. So, Janine's my lovely Vanna White doing the PowerPoint. So this energy, here it is coming to the surface, right? All this indulgence, self-pity, perfection, scarcity, defensiveness, blame, competition, guilt, martyr, all this stuff coming to the surface. And we're torn. And if you'd go to the next one, I think. Yes, refusing to be changed by love. So my question is, what if there was a magical bridge, a loving, fun, playful bridge that you could take from the world of separation into the world of enchantment, where you felt held and loved and supported and nourished and encouraged every step of the way? Would you make the crossing? Would you do it? Yes? That's our challenge right now, crossing the bridge to enchantment. And since Rick invited me to come here and talk about my bigger game, you might imagine that my bigger game is helping people cross this bridge. That has been my passionate pursuit and commitment for 34 years. I have been studying it, studying metaphysics, understanding this crossing, working with it, moving so much of my life out of shame, pain, separation, because you got to go first, right? You got to take yourself over that bridge, one piece at a time, one piece at a time. This is a part of my life that I want to bring into healing and acceptance, and this is a part of me, and this is an emotion, and each piece, one at a time. And as you do it, your life becomes more and more filled with love and filled with enchantment. And so this is my bigger game, helping people over this bridge, but not just getting over it any old way, because the thing is, we're all going. We're all getting there. That's for sure. That's going to happen. But how do you want to go? I wanted to figure out the most fun, the most love, the most joy, the most play, the most being cherished, the most being pampered, the most exciting journey over that bridge that I could possibly concoct for myself and for others. So that's what we've been up to at Lucid Living. My company is Lucid Living. Janine is my business partner and dear friend. And for 13 years, we've been working in workshops and teleclasses and week-long retreats. And yes, they are at the Four Seasons Resort, and we love it. We love it. We love to take people on these incredible adventures in consciousness, is what we call them. And so we've been doing that for 13 years. And really what we've been doing, incubating magicians. That's our work, We take hungry spiritual seekers and give them the resources and the tools and the perspectives and the distinctions and the support and the safety and the validation for every little step of that journey. And it's been fun. Hasn't it been so fun? And we got to this point in the last year where we said, okay, we actually are ready to share this with a larger world, and it's time to create a global playground, to incubate magicians on a global level. And so we came up with this incredibly fun membership community online called the Mystic Bridge Membership Community. And what we're doing is, it's a membership site where for just a low fee, every month you can come and have access to all of our resources. We do new recordings every week on all kinds of topics. Like we just did, when the Boston bombing hit, we did one recording helping people to process their emotions about it. And then a week later, a recording of how to look at that reflection. What does that mean for me? How do I start to process? How did I create that? Why did I allow that in my world? So when things happen in the world, we do those recordings. When we see movies that we love, we just did a whole thing on that Beyonce movie that we loved, or to the Walt Disney Museum. So we share our perspective, helping you to perceive enchantment everywhere, to see seeds of the new world that's being born. We have Metaphysical Movie Club where every month we watch a movie and we talk about it together from a perspective of spirituality, things like that, as well as recordings and all kinds of things. And it's just the beginning. But what we really wanted was this playground. When just a couple weeks ago, Janine and I went to the Walt Disney Family Museum. Has anybody been there in San Francisco? Isn't it fantastic? Oh my gosh. Walt Disney, what can I say? Love him. And when in the 40s, when he was pioneering animated features, he created WED, his initials, which was really an incubator for film techniques and animation techniques, and it was a place where all these animators and filmmakers could go and just try stuff. You know, throw stuff on the wall and see what sticks, try all kinds of new techniques. And we came out of there and we said, that's the spirit that we want at the Mystic Bridge. And so we have an enchanted forum where you can invite people, here's what I'm working to create, will you send energy for this, will you work magic with me? And some people can post, so-and-so needs healing, we create a healing energy circle. There's all kinds of ways that people are working and participating together and kind of getting their legs at being public in the world about, you know, visible as a magician. You know, it's a little bit to go out there and start posting, I'm working magic, you know? So it's a safe container to do that, to know that there's a worldwide network of magicians who are actually shaping the world with you. So that's what we're doing at the Mystic Bridge. And what was so incredible for me, because we knew that it was really time to try to articulate how the lucid living process really works, you know? After 13 years, people have always said, and I never have had like that elevator pitch you're supposed to have, you know? People would say, what's lucid living? And I'd ramble about I don't know what. But I finally said, okay, took myself down to Big Sur for 5 days and was in a solitude retreat. And I just sat with it. And then I called Janine and I said, I got it. I got it. I understand. I can articulate the process. And so guess what? I'm going to share that with you here. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to walk through that process together. And those of you who've done lucid living, you're going to be excited to know there's words for what you've been doing. So let's take a look at what I call crossing the Mystic Bridge. I'm going to stand over here. So it begins with the first step, which is to admit your longing. Admit your longing. It relates very much to the hunger square, doesn't it, Rick? Admit your longing. And the thing is, your passion at its root is an insatiable longing for connection with the divine. It may look for longing for this or that, but underneath any real longing or desire that you have, it is rooted in this desire for connection with the divine. So admit your longing. See, in those moments when you're drawn to separation, when you want to blame, or when you feel like this shouldn't be happening, in that moment, realize I've lost connection, and admit your longing to be returned to oneness. So that's where it starts, by wanting it, by choosing it. And then the second step, cultivate enchantment. Now you can do this lots of different ways. We have all kinds of workshops about enchantment and how you cultivate the very interesting energies of enchantment. But enchanted moments is a very easy, quick connection. To tune into an enchanted moment, or just to take some of those energies and say, let me feel the innocence, let me feel the possibilities, let me feel the wonder, let me feel the joy, and begin to feel, create that field of enchantment and feed it with positive emotion. And when that happens, it starts the resonance shakedown. Know that it's coming. Be prepared for it, because that takes you to the third step. And I was, for a while, trying to really think about how to talk about the third step, because so much goes on in that very complex third step. And I realized it's really about honoring complexity. Your complexity. You don't just have one thought or belief or attitude. You are multidimensional. You are multi-emotional. The child in you wants one thing. The adolescent in you wants something else. The adult in you, your soul, your higher self. All these different aspects of yourself. We work a lot with the complexity of self. For so many years at Lucid Living, that's all we did, work with the child and the adolescent and understanding the ego. What is the ego and how does it function and how to heal that ego? So honoring the complexity, it might mean, oh, I'm striding forward into this thing and I haven't stopped to notice that my child is scared, my inner child. And I'm hitting all this resistance because I haven't stopped to honor that. Or it might mean that I'm denying emotion. And it isn't only negative emotion that we deny. I'm denying the amount of love that I feel in this situation. That can be something to honor in the complexity. But this third step is about facing whatever it is that's coming up, looking at your shadow self, both light and dark. And it's a very important step. And as we say in all of our 7-step processes, of which we have many, the third step is the stumbling block. It's the one that'll have you turn and go back. It's the one that has you say, I'm not sure. I don't really want to face that today. I don't want to deal with that shame. I don't want to deal with that pain. So that third step, as you honor your complexity, then move into feeling deeply. And the fourth step is always what we call the most determined. It is the most dense. It is the most intense, because it doesn't mean it has to take a long time. And see, that's the difference. Feel deeply can be 5 minutes, but feel it. Whatever it is, feel deeply. Honor it. Trust where it's taking you. Because what happens is that so often we get the intellectual awareness of what's going on, and then we just want to move right on to change. But have you noticed it doesn't really change when that happens? You're trying to take the emotional guts out of the process. Because the feel deeply is where you have to feel it and then forgive. Maybe sometimes there's remorse involved. Forgiving yourself. That's the emotional guts of the process, where you feel. And then out of that, the learning becomes clear. And that takes you to step 5, which is to integrate the wisdom. Now, what do you understand now that you've experienced these emotions? What do you see differently? What is clear to you now? And as you integrate that wisdom, this is a hard one for a lot of people. Reveal your strength. Let the world see you in all your magnificence. You have amazing gifts that the world needs, that your loved ones need. You are necessary. You are important. You matter. Let yourself know that and celebrate that and stand in that. Be the beacon of light and love that you came to be, and don't shy away from it. A lot of people get scared, fear of ego, don't want to be arrogant, I don't want to. There's a distinction. And the thing is, when you haven't worked those distinctions around ego, they feel like they're close to each other. But once you know the resonance and the vibration of your ego, they couldn't be further apart. Standing in your magnificence and in your love does not feel anything like standing in your ego and your arrogance. They are worlds apart. So don't fear that. Stand in you, the magnificence of you. And then, oh my goodness, this number 7. Because what happens when you work this process, the more of your life that you take over the bridge, your life gets more and more and more enchanted, more wonderful, more precious to you. It becomes precious. And most fears abate, and one fear increases, and that's the fear of loss. Because now what I've created matters so darn much to me. I love my partner, I'm going to talk about Frank and make a sound. I love my husband so much. The fear of loss can be overwhelming. And it's tempting to run away from it. But there are those moments we almost routinely come together and feel the fear of loss and hold each other and cry and then renew our hope for our longevity together and all of that, because it's important to feel that. It's the one fear that increases the better your life gets, is the fear of loss, which is a beautiful fear to have, isn't it? Because everything matters so much. It's so precious to you. And that's where the 7th step is like being the fool, because you get to that place where everything's fantastic, and yet it's time to risk the happiness that you know for joy. Be willing to risk it all for that next piece, because there's more for you. The spiritual journey isn't over. There's more for you. And so it takes courage to be at that place, but everything's exactly where I want it, And then you have to pay attention. Little bits of boredom, little bits of complacency coming in. you know, or else things just start to get a little rocky because you're getting nudged out of your comfort zone, right? It's like, oh, I get it. Time to risk the happiness I know for joy. So this is the process of crossing the mystic bridge, and you do it over and over again. You take one piece of your life at a time. You don't have to take big giant steps, but it's amazing your progress. You take one thing and you move it over this bridge. So is that making sense? You get how that goes? So I want to give you an opportunity to experience it. We're going to do a little meditation, and it'll just be a taste because it's only going to be about 10 minutes long. But think about something in your life that it's easy for you to go into separation over. A place where you struggle, or a thing you think you need to fix. That's a giveaway. I need to fix this thing. Look for something in your life that, not the toughest thing, don't pick the toughest thing, but something in your life that you want to bring into more enchantment. And I'm going to sit and lead this meditation. Just go ahead and close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, just let yourself relax. Maybe take a couple of deep breaths. And you're already beginning to shift your awareness into your inner world. And in the quiet of your private space, admit your longing. There's something that you long for. Ultimately, it's for more connection with the divine, but what is it that you long for? Is it more freedom, more play, more love, more joy, more self-acceptance? What do you long for? And respond to that longing by reaching for the energy of enchantment. Perhaps you reconnect with that enchanted moment, feeling the joy and the wonder and the awe, the beauty and the possibilities, the innocence. Reach for that deep sense of belonging. And let yourself experience the universe as your ally, eager to support you. Sense the mystery of the process, of how the universe is drawing you back into divine connection. And there's something that you want to bring over the bridge into enchantment. And so let yourself imagine this piece of your life easy, enchanted, magical, filled with love, miraculous. And now feed it with hope. Begin to genuinely expect this change, this ease. And let yourself feel the vulnerability of the hope, how vulnerable it is to believe in it, to expect it, to know that it is already yours. And as you turn up the dial on the hope, let it fill you, filling you with light. You become light-filled. And sense yourself expanding. Expanding your image, expanding your possibilities as you fill with light. And then invite the resonance shakedown. Ask gently, with harm to none, to have revealed to you the aspect of your shadow that stands between you and this manifestation. What is it that you need to accept, love, forgive in you? Maybe it's a part of you who questions whether you're worthy enough. Or a part of you that's afraid to fail or afraid to shine. Maybe it's a specific belief or someone you need to forgive. It could be so many things. But let your inner world show you and in your way embrace this thing. Bring your acceptance, your understanding, your love. Your forgiveness. And then open up to the emotion, open up to the feelings. What is there for you to feel? If it is a part of you who feels unworthy, feel unworthy. It's part of you. It won't take over. It needs to be heard and loved. So feel whatever it is. And feel your tenderness toward this part of you. Your compassion, your caring born of sorrow. And as you feel it, then be willing to let it go. Know that you've held this hurt long enough, this shame long enough, this rage, this anger, whatever it is, you've held it long enough. You can let it go now. And let it go. And from this place now, what do you see about it? What do you now understand about its role in your journey? What was it here to teach you? What were its gifts to you? And as you allow that shift of perspective that creates wisdom, deepening your perspective, your understanding, reveal to yourself more of your strength. Admit how strong you really are. How loving, how resilient, how passionate, how capable of trusting, how generous you are, how committed you are. And celebrate your strength. Feel this core of strength in you. And be willing to share that strength with the world, asking nothing in return. You will receive plenty, but demanding nothing. Giving because it's fun to give of your strength. Being someone upon whom others lean. And imagine yourself as a beacon of hope in the world, bringing it to your loved ones, to your community, to the world. And in this moment, send some of that light and some of that love to a troubled spot in the world. And know that it's mattering. Places where the sense of separation, hopelessness, desperateness is more acute. And send your love and your strength and your light into these pockets of pain and despair. And finally, sense your life growing more precious every day, becoming more of the dream that you dreamed, knowing that this is just the beginning, that we are on the verge of the enchanted years. And see yourself thriving in that future. And standing upon that high ground of loving your life. Be willing to risk the happiness that you know, to dream an even bigger dream and reach for more enchantment. What is that bigger dream? Let yourself see it. Let yourself reach for it. And then whenever you're ready, just gently open your eyes and come on back. So that's a little taste. Of course, the truth is that this process happens over time, and it is not a linear process. You can be in many places at once, just like with the bigger game model. You can be in many different places going on risking happiness for joy while you're honoring complexity over here, and all these things going on simultaneously. But this is a process that you can use to bring any part of your life over this bridge from separation into enchantment. And it's also what you can use with your bigger game. Because whatever bigger game you want to play in the world, you know that you got to go first. What does it mean to be that game? Alice went first. She modeled it. She decided, I'm going first. And was there some resonance shakedown going on around you, Alice? Yes, right? It's a courageous path, and it's very vulnerable every single step of the way. That's why I like to say that pursuing enchantment is it's the height of responsibility. Staying with that emotional process all the way to transformation, it's the height of responsibility. And I put this picture up here because I would bet that you were not taught that this is what responsibility looks like. Were you taught that this is what responsibility looks like? Probably not, right? That's what it looks like. And these two here are pictures from some of our retreats, the beautiful tears and the beautiful laughter in our workshops. Did she leave on the first date? No, I'm kidding. That's an internet picture. We didn't have anything. But, you know, sometimes it is just rage. Honor it. Feel it. And then return. If there's, you know, anyone that knows me, I am such a proponent of emotional fluency, of learning the full range of emotions and learning to have your emotions, not have them have you. It's where it all happens. And so this is what it looks like to be responsible. Be emotional. Have all your feelings. Honor them and be responsible for them, right? So when I think about going first, one of the people, I'm going to piggyback on the Ellen thing, because when Ellen DeGeneres came out, and she went on the cover of Time magazine and said, yep, I'm gay, it set in motion a resonance shakedown that was so intense for her. And her show was canceled. She couldn't get a job for 3 years. Nobody would hire her. The amount of shame and stuff that came at her. And finally, and she went through an amazing process, taking herself over that bridge to find her truth and her strength and stand in her strength. And she finally decided, I just need to write my own comedy special because nobody's hiring me. And have you ever seen that first comedy special? Do you remember what she did? She came out in the beginning and she said, these last 3 years have been hell. And I was trying to think about how to talk about it. And I decided to do an interpretive dance. And she does this thing that, because it's Ellen, it's very funny and it's also weepingly poignant. Where she's out here coming out to the world and all of a sudden this stuff starts coming at her, you know, and pretty soon she's down on the floor in the fetal position and she's writhing in pain for a long time. And then she's trying to peek out and then things are, you know, and she goes through this whole dance to where she finally puts herself back together, every piece, and she stands there, you know, and it's just triumphant, you know. It's such a beautiful, visceral sense of what resonance shakedown can be. And see, it doesn't sometimes, it's not like, well, that was yesterday. It can be 3 years. So but to go on that journey, I don't know Ellen yet, but I am telling you that I would bet that she does not regret 1 minute of that. Every bit of what she went through in that resonance shakedown made her the woman she is today. And she went first and she opened doors, amazing doors, right? For so many people. So I just want to ask you, what's your Time magazine cover? What do you have to come out about for your bigger game to succeed in the world? Who do you have to reveal yourself as for your bigger game to work? Because it's great to get the funding and do the things and get the people and get the action and all that. But the success of your bigger game lies in being that game. So really look and see, yep, I'm what? I'm a magician. That's my game. That's what I have to be. And there's something that you need to be for your bigger game to really take fire. So I want you to think about that as these days are unfolding and as you have all these wonderful speakers and lots of inspiration coming. Because if you ask for help, ask for your higher self to point you. What do I need to admit? What do I need to accept? You'll get the message. You'll find out. You may already know what you need to stand in. So as we each do this work of crossing the mystic bridge and we take one piece at a time over the bridge and we enchant our lives, we create a world where people take responsibility for their energy. Can you imagine if everyone in the Senate and everyone in Congress took responsibility for not just for their political position, but for the emotional energy they brought into that chamber every day? If every teacher in every school took responsibility for the emotional presence around your children, if every single person took responsibility for the exchange of energy that they engaged in with every person they met, that's the world I'm visioning. Because it's all about emotional responsibility. Because the things that happen, the hideous things that have been happening, those girls in Cleveland, that is an expression of shame. It's an expression of shame. And those, I'm not in any way championing or advocating those men at all. But what allows something for that to happen is the amount of repressed shame, rage, pain that was never dealt with, that was never given an outlet, was never taught how to be responsible for that. And so we need to model that. And we need to help others feel and release and be enchanted and joyful. So I just got the little sign. Just in the few minutes that I have left with you here, I want to offer an invitation, and I want to leave you with a challenge. This is, first of all, part of the invitation is that you really stand in your hope. No, don't doubt that the world is becoming magnificent, amazing, beautiful reflection of the expansion of your consciousness. It is happening, and it's happening because of you. We are the magicians the world has been waiting for. So hold your hope high. This is one of our workshops. We had these hope flags. It's an image that I love because this is what we need to do. Go out and say, I'm a beacon of hope. I believe in this positive future, and I am making it happen. And so my invitation is that you come and play with us on the Mystic Bridge. Come and be a member of our community. We both want to share the resources and the support that we have with all of you, and we want your voice in our community. We want your presence. You matter. Come and play with us there. We have so many resources. And one of the things I've really discovered, the better life gets, the more support you need. Have you recognized that? Do you know that? A lot of people think that the people with the worst lives need the most support, and of course they need support. But the more courageous, the further out there you go, living the dream, you need more support. And so that's a big part of what our Mystic Bridge community is about. Come and avail yourself of the resources, recordings of inspiration and community to play with, and so many beautiful things, meditations and all kinds of things. So please come and participate. And of course, I do have a special offer for you all, you might imagine. So first I have a free gift, which is I created, with Janine, we created a document, 28 Ways to Enchant Your Bigger Game, and it's a free download. So if you'll go to the website, and you'll just go to lucidliving.net/bigger game. And that will take you into a page where you can get a free download for 28 ways to enchant your bigger game. Yes. And so that's a free gift. And then the membership, we have monthly, 3-month, and annual memberships. For any of you who purchase an annual membership during the time of this conference, we are also giving to you a brand new program that isn't even out yet. It's coming out in a couple of weeks at the end of this month. And it is a 7-week lucid living audio program called Secrets of Extraordinary Receiving. And we've never done this before, given away one of our workshops like that. So this is just for you, just for this time, because we really want you to come and participate in the community and avail yourself of that resource. And we also want you to give you a taste of what some of our workshops feel like. So that's our free gift to you. And so that's available to you too. You can go on lucidliving.net, and when you go in to register for the member, in the promo code, just put "what else? Bigger game." The third thing is under your chairs. I feel like Oprah now. Look under your chairs. It's not a car, okay? But under your chairs, there's a little gift. It's a little mirror that says, "I am here to enchant the world." And I really want you to remember that when you look at yourself. It's meant to go on the back of your cell phone, but it can go in your purse or on your desk. It can go anywhere. And when you look at that, remember, I am here to enchant the world. And just take that moment to fill yourself with the energy of enchantment and to see yourself as that beacon of light enchanting the world. So, my challenge as we're wrapping up today, my challenge is to make a commitment to enchantment, to your sense of oneness, to whatever your path, there's children playing, whatever your path of enchantment is, may sound like that. Really make a commitment every day to bring something of enchantment into the world. Stand in that place of enchantment. And over these 3 days, these next 3 days, when the resonance shakedown is happening, don't push it down. Let it happen. And not only let it happen, share it. Be vulnerable. Be messy with each other. This is coming up right now. I'm furious. I don't know why, or I do know why, or whatever it is. Or, wow, I just have such a wave of love. I have to tell you, I think you're beautiful, you know? Whatever it may be. Be vulnerable with each other. Love each other. Share with each other. Share your emotions, because that's where the intimacy is. That's where the magic happens. Rick, I want to thank you again for this opportunity. And I just want to thank all of you for this time this morning so that I could share my passion for magic, my joy of enchantment and the work. And Janine, darling, thank you. I say darling, and that makes people think that we're partners, but we have husbands, but we're also partners. But thank you, Janine. I love you so much. And doing this work with you is my way over that bridge. And I want to thank you for that. Thank you all for the opportunity to be with you this morning and for your time and your love and your attention. Much love. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you.
Sitting back there, going through waves of tears and emotions, I'm sure many of us did. I was noticing across the way over there is the 2 signs, investment and allies. And I want you to know personally that when I need to do my inner work, this is where I go. And we all know when the inner work is done, the outer work shows up. So I want to thank you personally for the inner work that you've brought to my life, because this is a reflection now of that. So the dream is absolutely coming true. And I just want to publicly say thank you for being a co-player in that dream with me. More to come.
You bet.
Way more to come. Delicious, delicious, gorgeous talk this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thanks, sweetie.